All right, let's get started with game two.
Link engaged.
Okay,
All right,
everybody.
welcome.
Sorry. Go ahead, Orb. You take it. I'm being rude.
All right, then. Welcome to game two. This is the finals of the TeamSpeak Team Liquid Open number 6 on the EU servers. We're going to see Insolence here as our blue Protoss warping in at the 9 o'clock position on Metalopolis versus mouzMorrow, our red Zerg, orphing in at the 6 o'clock positions. What do you think about these positions? We are at close air spawns, of course.
Yeah, I'm just, to be honest, on this map, I'm happy it's not close ramp-to-ramp spawns. I think that really encourages, like, super aggressive play, which kind of takes away from what people are actually hoping to see on a map like this, which is the long game, the macro game, the interesting units down further the tech tree. You know, a lot of times we have maps like Steps of War and these other ones that encourage high aggression. So it's nice to kind of get a little reprieve and see some macro play. And in these positions, I think that's very possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing to note about these positions is that, if you spawn at the close ramp positions, such as, let's say if Morrow had spawned at 12 o'clock, you don't have a Xel'Naga tower to watch. Whereas in these positions, you have that bottom Xel'Naga tower. You can use that to watch for when your opponent is moving out. Get a lot more map control in that regard. You can see pushes coming, especially from the Zerg standpoint, where you can just put a Zergling up there and just kind of defend that Xel'Naga tower relatively easily.
Yep. I mean, one of the advantages to these positions is that the Zerg player does get a full read on the Protoss opening up until that Cybernetics core. So he is he actually trying to hide this Overlord?
Yeah, it looks like he's perhaps trying to just keep it out of sight range so his opponent does not know where he's sending it.
Yeah, but he got scouted now, so that's going to foil his clever little plans. But he is going to see, okay, it's not a forge opening, it's not some kind of crazy 2-gate, and that's all pretty important information for a Zerg player early on. Obviously, it doesn't go too much further than that, but not a bad opening for the Zerg.
Yeah, we did see gas first yet again before the pool, and no expansion yet. So yet again, might be seeing some kind of banding play here. He's definitely going to be getting Zergling speed right now. Yeah, right. He's got 100 gas, immediately getting that Zergling speed, essential to this type of either early aggression or early defending. I'm guessing it's going to be aggression based on the fact that he has no expansion yet, which is pretty late for a Zerg player in this matchup.
It's fairly late, but this is actually the far more standard opening, which kind of leads me to believe perhaps the last game was a bit of an improv. You do want that speed first. You do have that queen. The earlier the queen gets out, the more injections or creep tumors she can have. So it does seem late, but this is actually a fairly standard opening for speed lean opening. And again, those Zerglings just going right to work. Where are you, greedy little probe? I know you're making a pylon somewhere. Unbeknownst to him, it is in fact sitting very predictably at the Xel'Naga tower, not doing anything too incredibly clever, but then pulling back at the apt time. So really solid play by Morrow. I mean, just covering all your bases. Again, for the Zerg players at home looking to play safe and strong, check for those frickin' pylons, man. If they're anywhere, they are about to rain a very sad day on your parade.
Absolutely, especially when you're in this position in a tournament, you're down 1-0. Often when people are in a 1-0 position, like Morrow did in his previous game that we saw, they tend to cheese simply because they have that buffer. If the cheese fails, they can win the game very easily and try to take it. But if the cheese fails, they still have that buffer and they can still have plenty of time to come back and win the series. So definitely checking for proxy pylons, trying to see if there's any proxy stargates or just a pylon to warp in units, etc. Very smart play, just checking the entire map.
Yep, absolutely. Protoss is, again, just kind of moving off with that 3-gate expand, which I really, really like. I think this is just very solid play. It's adaptable, as we've seen from him. He has done a few different openings. Well, actually, he's done the double Stargate a couple times, but he did mix in some really strong hallucination play in there as well. So with Insolence, almost anything is possible off this generic opening, and I really favor that.
Wow, interesting. Morrow bringing down. I guess he's bringing down the second queen just to place a creep tumor at the bottom of his base. Looks like his hatchery is already morphing larva, although he is opting to not recreate those larvae, instead going for that creep tumor. I think it's actually a good point. I mean, at this point in the game, You know, you're of course spending your minerals right as you get them. Larva, when you're on 2 base and you don't have your economy up yet, not as big of an issue. So going for that creep tumor, wow, 2 in a row. It's actually a really good move.
Yeah, actually, again, for those players at home that are trying to learn Zerg or improve upon their Zerg, you're absolutely right. Like, if you look at Morrow's money, it's staying low. He's using all his larva effectively. Now is the time to get those creep tumors down so they can spread that creep, but also you can afford it. And again, here comes that ballsy Sentry 2 Zealot escort service. They've got some words with the Zerg, who has nothing right now. This could be at a worse time.
Oh my gosh. This is like the same exact situation as the last game, except that the spine crawlers are not even in place this time. Bring in all his drones to try to defend. We don't see force fields to stop them, which is interesting. Just letting them kind of beat down on his sentries.
Does kill one queen. He is still force fielding that ramp. I mean, this is actually, it's starting to cost him, and we can kind of see that. But at what cost to the Zerg? He pulled off the drones. He lost some drones. He lost a
lot of drones.
These Zerglings might be able to run down those guys, though. I don't know. They're not moving quite as fast as speed Zerglings. Here they come. They're in hot pursuit. Orb, are they going to get there?
I don't know. See, he's going for the Zealot instead. Oh, coming around and they're going to be force fields?
Oh, God.
Is he going to let him die? No. Oh. Drop. Wow. What? Oh, my God. Dropping off some ridiculous force fields that just kind of shoved the sentries over like 20 feet to the side somehow next to that pylon.
He actually made it out. One of the sentries has been to hell and back. He's like, dude, you guys won't believe what I just got done doing. But he did survive. I mean, there were some crazy force fields. Really, the last 2 were the ones that saved him. They kind of created a little nook for the Zealot to have a Spartan, 300 final stand against those Zerglings while a cannon aided from the side. So a very interesting move. And again, it's looking economical. I mean, the Protoss player, like a true artist, is just doing things that I would be all kinds of uncomfortable with.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, let's look at if you look at the income tab, you can see that Morrow has rebounded from that early attack very well. He lost a lot of drones, but because there was no harassment after that, and he knew the Protoss had lost a lot of his army, and he didn't have to deal with any kind of aggression, he just drone pumped for like a long time. Now he's up to 50 drones, and he's just harvesting the heck out of these bases, almost at full saturation.
Yep, we do have an Overseer making its way through the map. It does get picked off.
We do have a Void Ray that's just taken off, that Overseer. Second one being produced. Only have 1 Stargate this time rather than the 2 from before. But what do you think he's going for with these early Void Rays? Because, I mean, if his opponent gets this Hydralisk den out in time, they probably aren't going to be nearly as effective, I think, as Phoenix's would have been.
Well, I absolutely would have agreed with you like a week before, but I've seen QE Khaki play, I've seen some of these Korean Protosses play, and actually Void Rays are really becoming in vogue in mid and late game PvZ, because behind good force field use, they just get excellent pairings. I mean, if they don't have to deal with the full girth, I'm going to shut the heck up. There seems to be some Void Rays in his base.
Yeah, doing a lot of damage. They already took out 1 Queen, taking out some Hydras now. They were allowed to be completely charged up before the Zerg started attacking him. But other than that, he did do a little bit of damage with them. If he loses, he does lose 1 Void Ray. All that was really lost for Morrow was a Queen and, I believe, two Hydras. So not that huge, but overall relatively even encounter.
Yeah, I mean, when you have 3 or 4 Queens, losing a Queen's really not that big of a deal. And Hydras are fairly dispensable. So, I mean, yes, on paper, the exchange was beneficial for the Protoss player, but Void Rays are a pretty good tax on the Protoss production. And they really get strong as their numbers increase. So if you lose a Void Ray, it actually does non-tangible damage to what you're trying to do.
I think this is what is so powerful about this strategy is that, of course, it's forcing Morrow to make a lot of Hydras that, he's trying to make more Roaches. And if we look at the Protoss base, behind the natural, he has a robotics bay building. So clearly, he's quickly teching up to get Colossi. And if his opponent makes a lot of Hydras to deal with Void Rays, Colossi are, of course, just going to demolish those Hydralisks.
Yeah, he's a big fan of the tech building. He's got 2 Robos, Stargate, and is just now adding additional gateways. So yes, the Colossus counter, or excuse me, the Colossus tech switch will be fantastic in this situation. But this time Morrow is just much more kind of in the swing of things. You see that Speed Overlord getting in here, ruining the party, seeing that support bay, knowing what's up. will hopefully start making some Corruptors. We do see the Spire going down, and Roaches will probably make up the heavier composition in his army.
Yeah, and I mean, Zerg already has his third base up, and it's already very saturated. In fact, it's almost completely fully saturated at this point, although he's going to take 6 off for gas. But, I mean, that just means that he has a huge economic advantage. The income tab shows us he's got about 2,100 minerals per minute. Protoss only has about 1,500, 1,600. So if he just sits around on these 3 bases and just builds up a huge army while the Protoss sits on 2 base, it all comes down to timing, because the Protoss is about to come attack right now with these 2 Colossi. Zerg's really got to work to build that army, but if he can defend this, he'll be at a really big advantage from that economic upswing.
Yeah, I mean, again, look at this map. Well, actually, as to say that, the gold is being taken by the Protoss, and he's moving out. He does have a good sentry count. He's got 2 Colossus here. It looks like this is kind of right in the middle of Morrow's macro period. His army's not too incredibly impressive. Great micro picking off those extra
Absolutely
units.
fantastic. He needs to build a little bit better positioning, though. He doesn't have any kind of flank for these Colossi, and if he gets shut down into this choke right here of his natural, it might be really hard to defend, although he does have his units spread out very well, has some Corruptors coming out. Nice force fields blocking off these units, though, against the hatchery.
Yep, the Protoss might have bitten off more than he can chew. 1 Colossus does go down, the second is down. Not a whole lot standing between him and Oblivion. Corruptors are doing short work with those Void Rays. 1 Colossus late to the party, making its way over, but it looks like Morrow's got the upper hand.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like Morrow held this off very nicely. He got held off by those force fields, which looked really bad for him, but he just had enough units off of his 3-base economy to deal with this, and now he's at such a big advantage, he can just basically go counterattack, stop this Protoss expansion, and, you know, be at such a huge advantage being 3-base versus 2-base.
Yep, Protoss is doing what he can. He's making a lot of cannons. He's warping in some units, but Morrow's on full bore aggression mode right now. He's got a good Corruptor base. He's got some Roaches. Everything's streaming across the map. It looks like a Zerg field day making its way over there.
Nice force fields going off. Gonna stop this attack from being able to do anything, but the probes get a little bit intercepted here. He's got to be careful though. He was taking a lot of damage from that Colossus, but it is now taken out by those Corruptors.
Yep, and
Morrow just taking a 4th during all this. Very nice play. It's always what you want to see. When you push out, you want to expand. The Protoss did it here when he took his 3rd. Zerg's doing this when he's taking his 4th. You know, very nice play, just trying to stay ahead in the macro game.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, if you want to beat Morrow, don't pick Metalopolis. This guy's got it down, man. Zelnaga Towers, I mean, his army's more just like walking across the map. There's creep almost everywhere. Just looks like a macro monster.
It looks like he's realized the main bulk of the cannons are at that 3rd, and he just went for the natural. A little bit bad position here, but it doesn't matter. He's got so many units. The Protoss is just not going to be able to deal with this many Roaches. He needs way more Immortals than that, way more Stalkers, and he might just get walked over at this point. There's so many Roaches at his natural.
Yeah, there's just nothing standing between the Protoss and defeat at this point. Zerg army has penetrated into that natural. They're going to go ahead and take that Nexus down. But that's also the production line. There's the GG. Holy cow!
Wow, Morrow just like he came from that early push. Said that's not going to work twice on me. Stopped it completely, and just came back and just out macroed the heck out of this Protoss.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you want to see textbook strong Zerg play, download these replays as soon as they're made available, or if they're not, watch the VODs. Whatever it is. Get your grubby hands on these games, because Morrow does such a good job spreading his overlords, keeping that creep consistently going, watching the Zelnaga Towers. I mean, every time we saw Insolence tech switch to Colossus or open up with Void Ray, Morrow was right there to get that early information and then to be in position to counter that. And that is so important to Zerg play. Like, they don't have those all-encompassing units like the Marauder or the Marine or anything that just is okay against almost everything. So they need to get those pairings, and you have to get that information, and Morrow understands that.